And well, ahead of the U.S. President Joe Biden's visit, India has also removed additional import duties on several U.S. products. The tariff is dropped on dozen of U.S. products, including chickpeas, lentils, apples, walnuts, among others. This is part of a move to de-escalate the trade tensions, which began in 2019 when the U.S. increased trade tariffs on steel and aluminium products. In response, India imposed retaliatory duties on 28 U.S. products. The latest decision comes ahead of the U.S. President, as we said, Joe Biden's visit for the G20, where there will be a bilateral as well. And well, for more on this, we're now being joined by Voice of America's correspondent Jessica Stone, who's with us from the newsroom. Jessica, welcome to Delhi. Thanks for joining us. What a pleasure to have you here. Well, this is the first state visit of Joe Biden as the head of, as the U.S. president, and will build on the momentum that the two sides have gained, in June with Prime Minister Modi's visit. What do we know about his itinerary so far?
Well, he arrives late afternoon, early evening on Friday. We don't have the exact time just because of flight arrangements. He's going to be staying at the Moria Sheraton and receiving regular testing for COVID, both ahead of the flight and during his visit here, because, of course, his wife, First Lady Jill Biden, tested positive for COVID earlier this week. Now they'll have bilateral meetings Friday evening and then go on to the G20 on Saturday. And on Sunday morning, President Biden will visit the Rajghat Memorial with G20 leaders, and then he's off to Hanoi, Vietnam, where he will upgrade the status of the relationship between the U.S. and Vietnam in the face of aggressive Chinese actions in the region.
Mm-hmm. Right. And, Jessica, we've touched on some of the things that are likely to be discussed in the bilateral, which the U.S. will obviously keep separate from what the agenda for America will be at the G20 summit. And also, of course, news coming in today that there have been, those trade barriers that have been removed and additional duties that have been removed from half a dozen U.S. products.
Yeah, and those chickpeas, lentils, apples, these are import duties that have been in place since 2019. A lot of this happened ahead of the state visit as well in June, where there were conciliatory or welcoming moves made on the trade front. This is an expectation of more trade moves. There's still one remaining conflict between the U.S. and India and the WTO. Those are expected, that last is expected to be lifted. We're also expecting the two to come out with some announcements regarding defense. And that engine deal with Hindustan Aeronautics, HAL, was actually passed by the U.S. Congress simply by not taking any action on August 30th. We're also expecting some announcements around commercial investments for investment, potentially around the quantum computing space or other high-tech regions, but really resolving the outgoing and outstanding, trade issues is really high on the minds of those that analyze this relationship closely. So we're expecting to hear some of that come out of the visit on Friday evening.
Right, Jessica, and of course we'll be tracking all those latest developments with you here in New Delhi. Thanks for joining us with the very latest.